Hey guys, tonight we stumble into a glowing forest where the leaves hum softly, the sky is the wrong color, and a floating scroll is telling you you've been chosen by the stars. That's right, you just got reincarnated into a magical world, and somehow the universe didn't even give you time to change out of your pajamas. You're barefoot, standing on dewy moss that feels way too comfortable, wearing one fuzzy slipper and one mismatched sock. A moth the size of a salad plate flutters by, flashing bioluminescent wings like a sleepy disco ball. And above you, a translucent scroll hovers, ink appearing on its surface like invisible hands are writing just for you. You probably won't survive this, let's be honest. But hey, that's part of the fun. The scroll crackles gently and reads, "You, dreamer of the other world, are chosen by the celestial probability. Your role: champion of fortune, walker of coincidence, bearer of staggering luck." Okay, sounds fake, but also flattering. And as you're reading, your name appears on the scroll too. Not your actual name, the one from your phone screen and coffee shop orders, but something more heroic sounding, like alien chance whisper. Yes, this is you in another world. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Let us know your location and the current time where you're listening from. We love seeing how far this dreamy journey travels. Now, please dim the lights and get cozy, because it's hot. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background noise, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink slowly. The scroll flutters upward and vanishes with a tiny poof, and suddenly a soft breeze pushes you forward down a winding forest path made of what looks like stardust and sand. You follow because what else are you going to do? Go back to your 9 to 5? Please. The trees above you are tall and spiraled, their bark laced with glowing blue veins. Fireflies drift lazily around your ankles. In the distance you hear a flute, or maybe it's just the wind trying to sing. Here's a quirky fact you never needed to know until now. In some ancient dream folklore, it's believed that the first breath you take in a new realm defines your magical alignment. So, congratulations, you sneezed. A tree beside you lets out a tired groan and shifts slightly to the left. You flinch. The tree apologizes. Literally. It creaks out a very slow "Sorry" in a voice like gravel in a jar of honey. You nod politely, because in this world that's apparently a thing. You reach a clearing where a stone archway hums gently, runes etched into its surface glowing faintly as you approach. The air buzzes like a phone on silent mode. As you step under the arch, the forest dims. Time hiccups. A holographic interface materializes right in front of you. A floating window labeled ATIS, hero file initializing, begins loading, with a loading bar shaped like a sleeping cat. Eventually it pings. Name: Alien Chance Whisper. Class: Hero of Fortune. Alignment: Sleepy Chaotic Neutral. Stats: Strength: Meh. Magic: Agility, room for improvement. Charisma: surprisingly high. Luck: people still argue whether luck is a real force in RPG systems or just a fancy way of describing bad code design, but in your case, it's apparently the cornerstone of your entire existence. The screen offers you one item to choose as your starter bonus. You hesitate. The 3 glowing options rotate. 1. A flaming sword. 2. A magical staff. 3. A comfy-looking pillow. You reach for the sword because, main character energy, but you trip. On air, and land nose first on the pillow. The screen chimes, item selected, dream rest pillow, 5 comfort plus 20 sleep evasion, plus hidden effects. The pillow shimmers and then vanishes into your inventory. A small chime sounds from your left, and suddenly a floating paper creature, a sleep sprite, appears and begins trailing you like a loyal companion. You name it. Puff. Puff squeaks approvingly. A quick mainstream fact to tuck in your brain: sleep sprites, in several Eastern mythologies, are symbolic of safe dreams and are believed to eat nightmares before they hatch. In some places, people even put little paper versions of them under pillows, like dream insurance. You finally make it to the edge of the forest, where a field of floating lilies sways in the breeze. Fireflies bob in slow motion, and a small bridge stretches over a sparkling stream that smells faintly like lavender and toast. You take your first step onto it, and the entire bridge creaks, shifts, and then catapults you gently into the air, like a child's bouncy castle. You flip, flail, and land softly in a bed of cloud grass, which puffs under your impact. Above you, the stars pulse once, just once, as if blinking. A sleepy voice hums nearby. "Another one?" it murmurs. You sit up to see an old rabbit wearing reading glasses and a small bow tie perched atop a glowing rock. "Name?" the rabbit asks. "Elian, I think," he sighs. "Figures. Another lucky one. Try not to explode anything your first day. We just fixed the moon forge." You blink again. "The what now?" But the rabbit hops away, leaving behind a folded map marked only with a big red stamp. "Welcome, hero. Try not to die." Not exactly reassuring, but sure. You roll up the map, pick up Puff, and begin walking again, toward a horizon that literally shifts color every few seconds. A rainbow arcs across the sky, and a giant turtle floats slowly through a nearby cloud. And just like that, your journey begins. The map smells faintly like cinnamon, which is weird but somehow comforting. You give it a little sniff again just to confirm, and yep, definitely cinnamon with a hint of dream dust. You tuck it into your pajama pocket, which conveniently now has extra storage space thanks to something called dimensional cozy folding. Your inventory window says so. Apparently, you can now carry up to 45 muffins or one large goat in there. Priorities. You stretch your limbs and start walking down a glimmering dirt path. The ground crunches beneath your feet, not with rocks, but with tiny glowing sugar crystals. It's like walking through cereal. If cereal was alive. And also maybe judging you. Puff floats beside you, burping tiny dream bubbles every few seconds. You ask it where to go next, but it only flutters upward and bonks into a signpost that reads, "Fortuna Vae, population depends on the moon." You head that way because, let's be real, you've got nothing else to go on. And frankly, your life has become one long improv skit written by an audience of sleep-deprived pixies. Along the way, a translucent screen pops back up in front of your face. It says achievement unlocked, first steps into chaos, reward +1 extra sock, legendary color mismatch. You check your feet, and yep, there it is. A third sock now dangles from your right ankle like a soft flag of destiny. You leave it, maybe it's magic, or maybe you'll trade it for soup later. Eventually, the path slopes downward and you reach a clearing that smells suspiciously like roasted marshmallows and mild regret. A sound pierces the quiet, a chorus of twanging strings and dramatic grunts. You peek through the trees. There's an elf, a very, very frustrated elf. They're in the middle of battle with a pack of stone wolves, firing arrows like a caffeinated porcupine. The elf is graceful, determined, and absolutely buried in a pile of their own missed shots. Honestly, it looks like most of their arrows have landed in nearby trees, rocks, and somehow a passing cloud. The elf turns just in time to see you trip on a mushroom and fall face first into a rock that turns out to be a wolf trap sigil, which activates on contact. Boom. Bright light. Stone wolves are frozen mid-leap. The elf stares at you like you just solved calculus with a crayon. "You," they whisper, pointing their bow at you, eyes wide. "You've arrived, the lucky one." You blink. "Who, me?" They drop to one knee. "Forgive me for not recognizing you sooner. Your aura of blessed incompetence, it is unmistakable." They introduce themselves as Aria, forest scout of the Eastern Edge, and yes, they absolutely believe you're a foretold hero. You try to correct them, but you're still holding Puff like a marshmallow smoothie, and they're not listening. Mainstream fact time. Many modern fantasy games base elf dialects on a mix of Old Norse, Welsh, and, oddly, Japanese poetic meter. Which is why when Aria says things like "Thine destiny art woven in fortune's silk," you just nod and smile like you're following. As they clean up their scattered arrows, they ask what your abilities are. You mumble something about being lucky. They raise a brow. "To test it then," they declare, and pull out a single glowing coin. "If this lands on edge," they say, "we'll know the prophecy's real." They flick it. The coin twirls through the air, twinkles, and lands perfectly balanced, on its edge, on a pebble, while doing a faint little jig. There's a long silence. Aria just says, "Oh no." You ask what that means. They mutter something about world-shifting probability thresholds, and we're all going to be fine probably, but won't elaborate. Instead, they insist you accompany them to their village for a prophecy confirmation ritual that may or may not involve a talking owl and warm soup. On the walk back, they share that their arrows were cursed to miss after offending a pond spirit. You suggest maybe apologizing with an origami frog. They stare at you. Later, you'll learn they actually do that, and it works. Here's your fringe tidbit of the night. Some old magical folklore says that if you fold an origami frog using paper from a dream journal, it'll come to life and guide you to whatever you're meant to find next. Of course, people still argue whether dream folding magic works outside the subconscious. The elves say it does. The witches say it's nonsense. The dream architect, they refuse to comment. The village is tucked beneath a canopy of trees that grow upside down, their roots curling above the ground like decorative chandeliers. Tiny lights float everywhere and the air hums with something you can't quite name. Possibly bees, possibly enchantment, possibly both. You're given a seat by the village fire and handed a bowl of moon stew, which glows faintly purple and tastes like stardust and nostalgia. A tall elder with antlers made of crystal leans in to study your face, then your feet, then the third sock. He nods. You're definitely the one, he says. No one else would wear that sock configuration and survive. They begin the prophecy ritual. It involves spinning a wheel, flipping a feather, and feeding a poem to a raccoon spirit. You sit through it like someone trying to understand modern art with a hangover. It ends with the raccoon spitting out a golden pebble that says in glowing script, "Hero status activated. Please don't ruin everything." You tuck it into your dimensional cozy folding pocket, just in case. That night, they give you a glowing mushroom to use as a pillow. It hums lullabies in Elvish as you fall asleep under a sky painted with comets and drifting feathers. The next morning, your elf friend is already waiting. Bow restrung, cloak billowing. You ask where you're going next. To the Dragon Cliffs, Ralia says. If you're the lucky one, you might be able to tame one. You shrug, stretch and yawn. Sure, why not? Sounds like a Tuesday. You've never walked toward a dragon before. Mostly because dragons aren't a thing in your usual line of work, which, before reincarnation, involved more coffee and deadlines than claws and fire breath. But here you are, trundling up a cobblestone path carved into the cliffs, your new elf companion walking silently beside you, and a floating dream-puff creature humming lullabies at your shoulder like a sleep-deprived tea kettle. The air up here smells like old thunder and citrus. Not lemon, more like dragon fruit caught in a lightning storm. You catch yourself wondering if dragons have natural deodorant or if the singed meat scent is just part of the brand. As you climb, the world unfolds beneath you. Rolling emerald hills, clouds drifting low enough to touch, herds of grazing sky whales in the distance. You know the usual. You're not even halfway up when Ralia stops suddenly. There, they whisper, pointing to a distant spire of obsidian curling from the mountain like a blackened fang. At its peak, lounging in an impossibly casual way for something with wings the size of a sailboat, is a dragon. It is enormous and sparkly, like really sparkly. That's a celestial ember drake, Ralia whispers. They're the rarest kind, supposedly untrainable, unless... You both look at each other. Unless you're incredibly lucky. You roll your eyes internally. Of course it's untrainable. Of course it's your problem. You pull out your map. It hums once, changes shape, and displays an arrow labeled Approach with extreme optimism. Puff squeaks like that's the dumbest idea it's heard all week. Which is saying something because you once tried to sit on a haunted teapot. The two of you inch closer until you're near enough that you can hear the dragon snoring. Each exhale sends little sparks into the sky. A gentle hum like a kettle reaching a perfect boil. It's curled in a spiral, glittering scales rising and falling with each breath. A single eyelid flicks open as you accidentally step on a crunchy leaf. The dragon blinks, yawns, and sits up. You freeze. Ralia hides behind a rock the size of a sandwich. Puff floats into your hood like a reverse parachute. You stand there like someone who walked into the wrong meeting and doesn't want to admit it. The dragon snorts. Its voice rumbles like distant thunder. Did you bring snacks? What do you even say to that? You start checking your dimensional pajama pockets. To your amazement, there's a fresh cinnamon bun, warm and still slightly gooey. You hold it out. The dragon leans forward, sniffs, and delicately plucks it from your hand with two claws the size of garden rakes. It eats the bun in one bite. That was acceptable. It lowers its head. You may ride me, tiny snack giver. You look at Ralia, who is now completely slack-jawed behind their rock. They mouth the word "what" about 6 times. You climb up awkwardly, gripping a few conveniently placed ridge scales, and plop onto the dragon's back like a sleepy toddler, mounting a very warm, very sparkly horse. Fringe tidbit time. According to obscure scrolls from the dream archives of Lunarith, dragons actually prefer sweet pastries over gold. But they keep hoards of treasure anyway because they know adventurers will keep showing up with baked goods hoping for trade leverage. It's basically their version of free delivery. The dragon stretches its wings and leaps, launching the three of you into the sky. Wind roars past your ears. The clouds peel open like soft gates, and the whole world spins slowly beneath you. Flying is strange. It's not fast like a plane or turbulent like a roller coaster. It's smooth, like swimming in warm fog. You let go of the ridge for a second and laugh, genuinely laugh, for the first time since this whole dream world escapade began. The dragon's name, it tells you mid-flight, is Huffanox the Fifth, but you can call it Huff, because you're friends now. Apparently one pastry counts for a lot when your luck stat is maxed out. Somewhere below, villages watch you pass. A small child waves, a giant accidentally drops its soup in awe, a mountain sneezes. Ralia joins you on Huff's back as you glide down toward an ancient platform built into the clouds. It's covered in mosaic tiles that shimmer like shifting constellations. This, Huff rumbles, is the Sky Altar, place of pact-binding, also known for excellent acoustics. You're not entirely sure what's going on, but your map starts glowing again. A new message appears. Hero pact in progress. Try not to mess this up. You step onto the altar. It pulses beneath your feet like a heartbeat. A circle of symbols glows and Huff lowers his massive head. I offer sky, flame and shade, he says. Do you offer purpose, bravery and at least 2 more cinnamon buns someday? You pause, nod slowly. I can definitely promise the buns. The tiles flash. A sound like wind chimes on the back of a dragon's sneeze fills the air. Your palm glows faintly and a mark appears, half flame, half feather. You are now officially bonded with a celestial ember drake. People still argue whether their dragon bonding is a result of magical energy compatibility, emotional resonance, or just good pastry-based diplomacy. The scholars of Eldorel insist it's ancient bloodlines. The Skyward Riders say it's all in the handshake. The dragons? They don't really care, as long as snacks are involved. With the pact sealed, the world seems to shift slightly. The wind listens more closely, your steps feel a little lighter. Puff squeaks proudly. Ralia just mutters something like, "You tamed a dragon, with a bun. What even is your life?" You mount Huff once more and he takes off toward the horizon. Your next destination glows on the map, a quiet bakery in the middle of a forest, which apparently holds the legendary sword of softened crust. Because why wouldn't it? The stars begin twinkling a little earlier than usual, and the sky begins to darken, curling into hues of plum and velvet blue. You lie back on Huff's warm spine, let the breeze brush your cheeks and realize that somehow this really is your life now. You wake up on a rooftop, a very warm rooftop. A very warm, crusty, suspiciously golden brown rooftop. You blink against the morning sun as a faint smell of butter, rosemary and something suspiciously magical curls into your nose. Puff hovers lazily beside you, spinning in slow loops like a drowsy marshmallow in orbit. Ralia sits nearby, eating what looks like a flaky croissant filled with glowing jam. "Morning," they mumble through a bite. You slept on a bakery. You sit up, rub your eyes, and sure enough, the building beneath you is made of stone, timber, and a very real loaf of magically reinforced bread. There's even a sign dangling near the door below. The Golden Crumb, Forest's finest baked goods and occasional cursed items. A gentle thud below catches your attention. You lean over the edge and watch as a doughy old man with flour-dusted robes and a beard shaped like a baguette waddles outside and rings a tiny bell. "Open for bread and destiny," he shouts. You're down there in a flash, mostly because your stomach growls louder than the ember drake snoring 2 fields over. The baker looks up at you, squints and nods slowly. "I've seen that look before," he says. "You're here for the sword, aren't you?" You pause mid-stretch. "Sword?" He grins. "The loaf blade. Destiny says it's yours." You blink. "That sounds not very sharp." "Oh no," he replies solemnly. "It's extremely sharp. Cuts through lies, bad dreams, and most forms of enchanted cheese." He leads you inside, where the scent of warm sugar and rising dough makes your shoulders unclench in ways you didn't realize they were clenched. Every surface in the shop is covered in pastries. There's a floating brioche in a glass case labeled "Do not feed after midnight." A sign over the counter reads, "Crumbs of Fate, now 10% off." You follow him into the back, where a pedestal stands in a circle of flour dust. Embedded in a massive sourdough loaf is the sword. You know it's the sword because a halo of floating jam-filled donut holes spins gently around it, humming. You step up, your palm tingles. You reach out, and then you sneeze, violently. The force launches you forward, face first into the loaf. You hear a shlink and a foomp, and when you open your eyes, you're lying on your back, sword in hand, sourdough crumbs in your hair, and the pedestal absolutely empty. The sword glows softly in your grip, not aggressively, not burning with vengeance or crackling with dark energy. More like it's politely pleased to meet you. Baker Baguette, not his real name, but it should be, claps once. You've pulled the loaf blade, destiny fulfilled. Would you like a Danish to go with that? Ralia just stares at you like you've invented a new form of prophecy. Again, you accept a complimentary pastry. Because obviously. Mainstream fact time. In many fantasy settings, enchanted weapons often have unique personalities or preferences. There's ongoing debate in magical theory circles over whether these are embedded sentient spirits, echoes of strong emotion, or just enchanted programming gone off script. One famous sword named Whisperfang once refused to be drawn unless its wielder sang it a lullaby, which is inconvenient in combat, but great at karaoke. The loaf blade doesn't talk, but it does vibrate slightly when near evil, or gluten-free snacks apparently. On your way out of the bakery, your map pings again. New quest activated, deliver this loaf blade to the sleepy mage at Teacup Hill. You groan. It's a delivery quest? Ralia shrugs. Could be worse. No, could be escorting a cursed chicken. Puff shudders. You mount Huff the Ember Drake, who is now snacking on a tree full of cinnamon pears, and take to the sky. The morning mist clings to your sleeves as the wind whips by, but the flight is smooth, drowsy even. Teacup Hill appears on the horizon in a matter of minutes. It's not shaped like a teacup, disappointingly, but there are giant saucer-shaped lily pads around a sleepy cottage nestled in a foggy glen. You land gently in front of the house, where a small wooden sign swings lazily in the breeze. Magus Napwell's Arcane Napping Services. A bell above the door rings as you enter, startling a swarm of yawning moths that drift lazily upward and vanish through the chimney. The interior is cozy. Chaotic. Cozy chaotic. Scrolls everywhere, a kettle floating mid-air, steaming gently, a sleeping cap draped over a swordfish mounted to the wall. An old man in a velvet robe snores loudly in an armchair. You walk up and gently nudge him with the loaf blade. He wakes with a gasp, flailing and knocking a stack of enchanted tea cozies into a potted plant that immediately sprouts cookies. "You," he croaks. "You're the delivery boy?" "Hero," you correct. "But yes, delivery boy." He blinks at the sword. "Ah, the loaf blade, sheathed in crust and bound by yeast. At last, destiny's carbs have arrived." He takes the sword reverently, sniffs it and nods. "Still smells like rosemary. Perfect." He shuffles to a shelf, grabs a chipped teacup and offers it to you. "For your journey, this cup brews whatever tea you're craving most, but only once a day, so use it wisely." You thank him, and as you turn to leave, he pauses. "Oh, and one more thing." He leans in conspiratorially. "Avoid the frogs in Glimmerfen. One of them owes me money." Fringe tidbit of the day. Some magical tea traditions claim that emotional intent can flavor a brew. That's why heartbreak tea always tastes like raspberries and rain, while ambition tea tastes like espresso made by a ghost. People debate fiercely whether it's the cup, the leaves, or the drinker's soul that decides the flavor. Outside, you sip your tea, chamomile with a hint of citrus and, weirdly, a dash of cinnamon bun. You sigh. It's good to be the lucky one. But as the wind shifts, you spot something on the horizon, a shimmer, a ripple in the sky, something watching. You tuck the cup away, hop onto Huff's back and nudge him toward the clouds, because your journey's only just begun. And the map? It's glowing again. You're midair again, Huff's wings slicing through cottony clouds as the sun tugs lazily across the sky, like someone slowly pulling a golden blanket over the world. Below you, the landscape shifts from sleepy woods to soft meadows, to hills covered in glassy mushrooms that shimmer like disco tiles. Everything is peaceful. Suspiciously peaceful. You glance down at your magical map, which is now emitting faint ukulele music for reasons it refuses to explain. The glowing path ahead leads directly to a blinking icon shaped like bread, No, wait, that's a toast icon. You zoom in and squint. Crumwell Village, current status, mild destiny overload. That sounds exactly like the kind of place where your next problem is hiding. With your loaf blade now sheathed in a glowing baguette scabbard, because of course, you direct half down toward the village with a groan. It's late afternoon when you land in the middle of the town square, and your arrival triggers immediate chaos. You sneeze once, and a barrel of apples explodes in confetti. A raccoon wearing a monocle salutes you, and from a small bakery on the corner, a voice cries out, "He's back! The butter bringer returns." You are, understandably, confused. A crowd gathers. Mushroom folk, flower sprites, a disgruntled-looking hedgehog in a cloak. They cheer, they wave sparkly breadsticks. And before you can say, "Wait, what's happening?" someone slaps a glittering mushroom cap onto your head and blows a ceremonial whistle. Congratulations. You are now the mayor of Mushroom Town. You didn't run. You didn't campaign. You didn't even know this place existed until 20 seconds ago. But apparently, the moment your slipper brushed against the ancient glowing spore near the fountain, you fulfilled a prophecy written on a puffball mushroom 800 years ago. You try to decline, but they hand you a pamphlet that reads, "Benefits of being Mushroom Mayor. Free pastries, lifetime supply of antifungal boots, access to the spore shield, whatever that is, ceremonial spoon of rulership." You hold the spoon. It hums with unimaginable buttery power. Mainstream fact. In ancient societies, certain items like swords, scepters, or spoons served as ritual emblems of authority. The spoon, though laughable today, was once considered a symbol of divine nourishment in multiple folklore traditions. Some even claimed a blessed spoon could stir fate itself. As you're dragged into a welcome parade, you start noticing strange things, like how every villager you meet finishes your sentences, or how the pastries they hand you are exactly the flavor you were craving before you even said anything. Something is off. You try to leave, politely, but every exit path from the village just loops you back to the square. You're trapped in a perfectly adorable, buttery-scented mushroom loop. Ralia appears, looking highly amused and slightly alarmed. "They've bonded to you," they whisper. "The prophecy didn't just make you mayor, it made you their luck anchor. You can't leave until they release you." You groan. "Okay, so how do I get unmayored?" Ralia shrugs. "Typically, a ceremonial rite, a harmless little challenge of worthiness." A floating scroll appears with a sparkle. "Welcome to the unmayoring ritual. Please choose your challenge. 1. Competitive napping. 2. Muffin juggling. 3. Dance-off of destiny." You pick dance-off. Immediately regret it. An enchanted toadstool sprouts a record player. Music starts, something between funky forest jazz and ancient battle drums. You're thrust into a clearing where everyone is watching. Even Puff puts on a tiny judge's hat. The first opponent? A breakdancing beetle with 6 legs and moves. You start slow, a shuffle, a little twirl, a misstep. The ground quakes, a spore cloud erupts in rhythm with your footfalls, swirling in time. You accidentally trigger an ancient groove rune buried beneath the moss. Suddenly your body moves like it has cheat codes. You moonwalk without effort. You spin, you strike a final pose. The crowd erupts. Even the record player bows. You win the dance-off, triggering a glitter explosion and a ceremonial chorus of mushrooms chanting, "Unmayored, unmayored." A tiny mushroom elder floats up in a soap bubble. "You have passed the rite of whimsy," she says in a voice like crinkled paper. "You are free." You sigh in relief, toss the ceremonial spoon into the air where it vanishes in a puff of parmesan. And just like that, the loop breaks. Fringe tidbit of the day. There's a little-known theory in enchanted village folklore that communities infused with collective consciousness can bind to a chosen figure of fortune or power, accidentally forming symbiotic destiny loops. Most such cases resolve peacefully, except for the one involving the bread pope of Jamshire. That got messy. As you exit the village, the map glows again. A new message appears. Next stop, the stone giant's circle. Warning, do not yawn. You raise an eyebrow. But then again, when has a warning in this world ever been helpful? The sun begins to dip toward the horizon, casting long golden rays over hills that now seem taller, sleepier. A gentle hum fills the air. You fly again, landing near a circle of massive stone thrones carved into the edge of a mountain plateau. There's a hush here, windless, timeless. A single giant, stone-skinned and ancient, sits slumped on the largest throne, staring at the horizon. He turns slowly when you arrive. "Who dares challenge me?" he bellows, voice like an avalanche drinking tea. You step forward. Hi?" He blinks. "Ah, the one of improbable fortune." You're about to respond when you yawn. It's not even dramatic. It's just one of those slow, full-body yawns that sneak up on you like an over-friendly cat. But the moment you finish, the giant stands, gasps echo from boulders. A raven drops its acorn in shock. Ralia facepalms so hard it makes a sound. "You've shown me the ritual of serenity," the giant declares, "a sign of respect among our kind, and a challenge of still will." You do not know what still will is, but the giant sits down. So do you. You both stare silently at the horizon. 5 hours pass. You win, just by sitting still and yawning. When the sun finally sets, the giant rises, bows deeply, and gives you a stone amulet for your patience and your glorious nap posture. People still argue whether giants honor rituals out of genuine culture or just boredom. One school believes in ancient oaths passed down by boulder elders. Others insist it's just an excuse to avoid paperwork. Either way, you've just earned the respect of a stone clan. All because you got bored, while being lucky. You leave the plateau as twilight descends, the stars arriving like quiet thoughts across a velvet sky. Huff hums under you and Puff snuggles into your hood. And the next chapter? It waits just ahead, glowing softly on your ever-chaotic map. The stars drift lazily above, pinpricks of sleep wrapped in velvet blue. Huff glides silently through the clouds, his wings beating like the soft thump of a lullaby's heart. You don't know exactly how far you've come now. The forest, the dragon cliffs, the bakery, mushroom politics somehow. It's all blurred into one long dream of improbable victories and cinnamon-scented fate. But tonight's journey is different. The air tastes sharper, more electric. The map pulses softly. You tilt it forward, and glowing letters swirl into view. Quest location, the tea house between time. Objective, retrieve Dreamleaf for the sleepy mage. Your eyes narrow. Oh right, the tea quest. It's been days since you accepted the sleepy mage's mildly bizarre request for Dreamleaf tea from a grove that exists only at the edge of thoughts. You remember thinking it would be a simple errand. Grab some herbs, avoid cursed squirrels, return home. Naturally, you were wrong. The clouds part to reveal a steep mountainside trail barely clinging to the cliffs. At the top, a tea house suspended by enormous ropes between 3 jagged peaks. It sways in the wind, glowing faintly with golden lanterns. A small sign carved into the rock reads, "Open between 11:11 p.m. and 4:04 a.m. No refunds. Please bring exact thoughts." You land on a mossy ledge just wide enough for one person and half a dragon. Huff sighs, curls up nearby and pulls a cloud over his body like a blanket. Puff, ever dramatic, dives into your pocket and goes limp like it's fainted in anticipation. You climb the winding steps alone, the stone beneath your feet warm from moonlight. The higher you go, the quieter it gets, until your own breath is the only sound. Inside the tea house, the atmosphere shifts. You're no longer walking through air, you're gliding through memory. Everything here hums, the bamboo floors, the walls lined with floating scrolls, the lanterns that pulse with sleepy color. A host in a paper-thin robe appears. They have no face, only a gentle mist where one should be. Still, you somehow know they're smiling. "You've arrived," they whisper. "Do you remember what you've forgotten?" You nod reflexively, even though you definitely don't. They lead you to a table made of swirling starlight, pour you a cup of clear liquid and gesture for you to sip. The tea tastes like being 5 years old on a rainy morning, wrapped in blankets, listening to someone turn the pages of a book you're not quite old enough to read. "Dreamleaf will find you," the host says softly, "but only if you stop looking." You blink. Your map unrolls itself across the table, glowing again. Not with directions, with dreams. Tiny, moving scenes of what could have happened had you made different choices. In one dream, you're a blacksmith. In another, a librarian who talks to books that talk back. In one, you never left Earth. You see your old life, the glow of your phone screen, the mess of laundry, the half-finished instant noodles. You feel a tug. Not homesickness, just curiosity. Fringe tidbit. Some magical scholars believe Dreamleaf is less a plant and more a thought form, a living idea that only manifests when observed sideways. You don't find it. You become someone who has already found it. You sip again. A petal lands in your cup. It shimmers, then dissolves. The tea changes, becomes golden, thicker, more fragrant. You've brewed Dreamleaf. You don't know how. You don't need to. You just have. The host bows and slides a folded paper toward you. A gift from the past that never happened. You open it carefully. Inside is a drawing of yourself, asleep beneath a tree that never existed, holding a cat that looks suspiciously like Puff with a monocle and a book. Written underneath, rest is resistance, luck is awareness, and tea is always a good idea. You fold it, tuck it away, stand. The host gestures to a side door now glowing with soft green light. You step through, and suddenly you're not in the tea house anymore. You're back in the glade, tea satchel in hand, the wind tugging gently at your sleeves. Ralia is there, looking suspiciously at the tea. So, was it hard? You shrug. I remembered something I didn't know I forgot. They blink. Cool, existential. The stone path reforms under your feet. You begin to walk, the soft padding of Puff's snores in your pocket, keeping rhythm. Ahead lies something glimmering, flickering between the trees, a mirror. No, a pool. You pause. The path didn't mention a pool. As you approach, the world feels quieter again, still, like the hush before a good nap or a library sneeze. The pool is impossibly smooth, not reflecting stars, reflecting possibility, and floating gently in its center, on a leaf that defies gravity and physics, is a small glowing coin. You feel it immediately. This is the kind of thing that only happens when you're cursed or ridiculously lucky. Ralia leans forward. Touch it and something weird will definitely happen. You look at them, but good weird? Debatable. You touch it. The world shifts. Suddenly you're back in the sleepy mage's cottage, tea satchel in hand. No travel, no wind, just a mild sense of time hiccuping. The mage opens one eye. Did you bring the thing? You drop the bag of Dreamleaf into his lap. He sniffs, sighs in deep pleasure, and drifts instantly into a more powerful nap. A wave of soft magic radiates outward from him, turning dust into floating feathers, transforming a teacup into a purring kitten. You've completed the tea quest. Mainstream fact for this evening. In many magical traditions, tea ceremonies serve as symbolic rites of passage, not for what they do, but for what they require you to pause. Some schools of thought claim tea is the only substance that can cross the boundaries of consciousness while still tasting like flowers. As you step outside, the moon is enormous, taking up nearly half the sky, and the stars ripple slightly like they're breathing. Your map pulses. Next stop, the cursed frog pond, with 3 question marks after it. You sigh, pat Puff gently, and look to Ralia. Can I at least finish this tea first? They nod. You'll need it. You sip. The stars watch, silent and steady, and you move forward, again. You find the pond entirely by accident. Or, given your track record, perhaps it finds you. You're wandering down a mossy trail surrounded by sleepy fireflies and the occasional suspiciously glowing acorn when the ground gives out beneath your feet. One heartbeat you're walking, the next you're sliding down a leafy slope like nature's laziest water slide. You land with a soft splush in thigh-high water, warm as a bubble bath and suspiciously scented like eucalyptus and mild regret. Puff floats out of your pocket like a soaked cotton ball, sputtering indignant bubbles. Ralia, of course, lands gracefully on a nearby rock like they rehearsed it in advance. Welcome to Glimmer Fen. Population frogs, and currently you. The water is still. The lily pads are unnaturally round, and on every single one sits a frog. Not just any frogs. These ones wear tiny capes. Some have monocles. One seems to be holding a scroll. They all turn to look at you in eerie unison. Oh, says Ralia, it's those frogs. You wipe pond water from your eyes. Those frogs? The cursed council of croakers, they whisper. Frogs once cursed by bad packs, worse poetry, or extremely suspicious lemonade. A soft ribbit echoes across the pond. A large, grumpy-looking toad with a crown made of bottle caps hops forward. You, he declares, you owe me. You blink. I've never met you in my life. He snorts. Not you, other you, from a previous potential timeline. You borrowed 5 gold and a jar of moonlight, never paid me back. Ralia mutters, timeline debt. Fantastic. Mainstream fact drop. In certain magical philosophies, parallel timelines can create what's called echo obligations, debts or pacts that carry across realities if your soul signature overlaps. It's why dream travelers are advised never to sign contracts while lucid dreaming or during solar eclipses. Fortunately, the Frog King continues, we are forgiving, mostly. If you wish to clear your karmic tab, complete a small task for us. You groan. Let me guess, I have to kiss someone? He recoils. No, you just need to lift the ancient soggy curse that's made our pond slightly more existential than normal. He gestures with a webbed foot. Across the water you see it, a glimmering orb floating just above the surface, pulsating with soft purple gloom. Beneath it, the water trembles. The plants sway in no wind. You get the very distinct feeling that it is, in fact, cursed. Fringe tidbit. Some enchanted wetlands house entities known as echo spirits, beings made of memory residue and forgotten dreams. People still debate whether they are sentient remnants of past selves or simply magical junk build-up in moist places. Either way, they're best left undisturbed. You, naturally, paddle straight toward it. Puff tries to stop you by clinging to your nose. Ralia just mutters a spell under their breath, ready for chaos. You raise your hand. The orb hums louder, almost singing. You poke it. It immediately pops like a soap bubble. The water beneath you glows, a whooshing noise like the sound of your own thoughts being vacuumed, ripples outward. And then it rains frogs. Dozens, hundreds, all glittering, squeaking, singing tiny nonsense songs. They fall into the pond, bounce off lily pads, and immediately begin transforming. The frogs become people. Mostly. One turns into a talking squirrel. One becomes a merchant with a beard made of salad. Another transforms into a warlock mid-sneeze, flinging a fireball that accidentally cooks a nearby lily pad into a perfect little pancake. The grumpy Frog King watches in silence. Well, he says at last, I was cursed. Turns out I was also the retired archmage of Soupstone. He dusts off his crown, which transforms into a weathered wizard's hat. Thank you for the accidental favor, he nods. Your karmic debt is cleared. You exhale, then hiccup, and turn into a frog. Ralia snorts so hard they almost fall off their rock. Guess there was a splashback clause. You're not panicked, mostly because being a frog is weirdly comfortable. The world is slower, softer. Your thoughts drift like algae in warm water. Puff lands beside you, also frogified but clearly smug about it. The Archmage Frog Wizard claps. Temporary side effect. Should wear off in an hour or 3 depending on your hydration. You hop around once, twice. Try a small croak, it's oddly satisfying. You find a rock, sun yourself, and feel, for the first time in days, completely relaxed. Mainstream frog fact, frogs actually sleep with their eyes open, kind of. They lower their nictitating membrane, basically a translucent eyelid, which protects their eyes while letting in light. This might explain why you suddenly feel like you're dreaming while still watching Ralia roast marshmallows over a floating fire orb nearby. Eventually you feel a strange popping sensation. You're human again. Puff is back to his usual squeaky fluffball form. Ralia tosses you a towel conjured from fog and duck feathers. You handled that well. They admit. Most people panic when they start croaking. You stretch your arms. I've been a mayor, a dragon tamer, a dance champion, and now a frog. At this point, I'm just letting the universe improvise. The frogs, now fully restored people and creatures, cheer you off as you and Ralia climb back aboard Huff. The Archmage gives you a small jar of magically enhanced lily pad syrup and a scroll labeled IOU, one cosmic favor, redeem after nap time. As you take off, the pond sparkles behind you, its weirdness mostly resolved. The stars are brighter tonight, the wind quieter. And the map? Oh, it's glowing again. Next stop, the town of Echofern, and someone calling themselves the Cloak of Coincidence. You sigh, tug your hood up, and lean into Huff's back as he glides silently through a sky thick with constellations and leftover frog energy. Because in this world, weird is just another word for normal. The town of Echofern appears below just as dawn begins to pull color into the sky like watercolor spilled across velvet. It doesn't look like much at first, just a sleepy cluster of stone cottages wrapped in ivy, stitched together by winding cobblestone paths and the occasional spark of fairy light. But as Huff circles lower, you realize something's off. Every time you blink, the layout of the village shifts. A building that was on the left suddenly appears on the right. A bakery turns into a bookstore, then back again. Even the chickens look confused. One walks straight into a mirror and emerges wearing a hat. Echofern, Ralia mutters behind you. Home of the probability weavers. Expect reality to get creative. You land gently in the square. A few townsfolk nod to you like they've seen you before. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't yet. One hands you a muffin without explanation. It's warm and tastes like cinnamon, stardust, and déjà vu. Puff bounces happily, then suddenly vanishes for 6 seconds before reappearing on your shoulder holding a spoon it definitely didn't have before. You don't ask. You follow your map into the heart of the village. Well, a heart. Echo Fern seems to have at least 3, rotating on a time-based schedule. Eventually, you reach a tower made of woven shadows and string. A sign out front reads, "The Cloak of Coincidence, Purveyor of Lucky Accidents." The door opens before you knock. Inside, it's quiet, dim, not dark, just comfortable, like the lighting in a really nice bookstore or a polite dream. The walls are lined with coats, cloaks, capes, and an unreasonable number of scarves. One floats by, sneezing gently. A figure stands behind a desk, face hidden beneath a massive hood. You can only see their mouth, curled into a half-smirk, like they know something ironic is about to happen to you. "You've finally arrived," they say, voice soft and precise. Or maybe you're just very early. You blink. "Do I know you?" They shrug. "Not yet, or no longer. Either way, I've been expecting you eventually." You begin to ask how they know who you are, but the cloak reaches under the counter and pulls out. Yep, a cloak. Midnight blue, covered in shifting constellations that move as you breathe. "This," they say, "is the Cloak of Coincidence. It amplifies your inherent luck and transforms nearby reality into a suggestible state. Essentially, weird stuff will happen around you more often." You raise an eyebrow. "More than usual?" The cloak nods solemnly. "Yes, you might step into a puddle and find a sword, or sneeze and cause a town's crops to ripen instantly, or declare a sandwich preference and start a prophecy war." "Cool," you say, not entirely meaning it. "Any drawbacks?" They shrug. "You might attract followers." You squint. "Like fans? Like believers? Cultists, probably." "Oh." They toss the cloak to you. It's lighter than it looks and smells faintly like old magic and new socks. You put it on. Immediately the room changes. The lights flicker. A nearby cloak bursts into a small jazz solo. Outside, thunder claps and then politely apologizes. Puff spins midair and squeaks like it's just been mildly electrocuted. You blink. 3 people are now standing outside the shop, holding pamphlets that read, "The Cloakening is Nigh." Mainstream fact drop. Throughout history, clothing, especially capes and cloaks, has often been imbued with symbolic power. In magical circles, cloaks are said to represent threshold spaces, neither here nor there, perfect for bending rules. People still argue whether enchanted garments retain power due to spell work, emotional resonance, or repeated narrative importance. You step outside. One of the pamphlet holders gasps. "It's really you," they cry, "the one of fortunate drapery, the caped catalyst." You sigh. "I just put this on." They hand you a staff. You're now the high luck keeper of Echo Fern. You glance at Ralia. "Again?" They chuckle. "At least they didn't make you mayor this time." The cloak glides silently beside you. You'll want to set your first decree before the random bloom begins. You look around. The what? Before they can answer, the town square explodes in flowers. Well, not explode in the boom sense. More like it erupts. Blossoms pour from cracks in the stones, unfurl from windowsills, burst from chimneys. The air smells like lavender and awe. You're handed a bell and a horn and a small enchanted squirrel holding a clipboard. "Please decree something," it squeaks. You panic and shout the first thing that comes to mind. "Free cookies for everyone on Tuesdays." The crowd goes wild. Bells ring. A goat faints from joy. A rain of cookie crumbs begins to fall gently from the sky. Fringe tidbit of the day. Some places in the dream realms observe fortune festivals, where a randomly chosen individual is given temporary power to decree anything. These moments are said to open cracks in fate itself, allowing wishes, chaos, or both to slip through. Scholars argue over whether these festivals have a real magical effect or just psychological permission for weirdness. Your decree somehow activates a second random bloom. This one includes bubble wands, polka music, and a brief interlude where everyone speaks in rhyming couplets for 5 minutes. You're not entirely sure why, but no one seems to mind. Eventually, the magic calms. The Cloak of Coincidence nods approvingly. "You'll want to keep moving," they advise. "The luck is peaking. If you linger too long, reality might try to marry you." You don't wait for clarification. Back on Huff's back, cloak billowing behind you. Ralia laughs under their breath. I'm starting to think you weren't summoned to save this world. You look out over the horizon. Then what? Maybe to amuse it. The wind shifts. Your map glows again. Next quest, the Duel of the Lucky Idiots. Location, capital city, field of falling petals. Warning, expect nonsense. You sigh, pull your hood over your eyes, and whisper to Huff, let's go see what dumb luck looks like when it's twice as dumb. Capital city doesn't appear on the horizon. It descends. One moment, you're flying over rolling hills and lazy rivers. The next, you're banking beneath a sky full of cherry blossoms that have no business blooming this time of year. The city rises like a dream built by overly enthusiastic architects. Gold-tipped towers, floating bridges, gardens that grow sideways along the walls. Every surface glows faintly, as if the whole place has been gently polished by moonlight. In the distance, an arena sparkles. Pink petals fall over it like confetti. That's where you're headed. The field of falling petals. Your map has a new note scribbled on it. Duel at sunset. Bring snacks. Try not to cause another festival. You land just outside the city, greeted by an excitable goblin in a suit covered in glitter. You're here, he squeaks, flipping open a clipboard. The other lucky reincarnate arrived 2 days ago and already turned the fountains into chocolate. He's very competitive. Your stomach drops. Wait, another me? He shakes his head. Not you, just someone like you, from another world. Max luck, weird hair, very punchable. Great. You're led through the city to the arena, where citizens cheer from balconies and rooftops. Most are holding signs. You spot at least 3 that say things like, Team You, lucky and cute. Destiny is randomized, baby. Kiss him? Fight him? Both? The goblin gestures to a red velvet curtain. Ready? You're not, but you nod. You step into the arena. The sun hangs low. Petals drift around you like a slow-motion snowstorm. Across the field stands your opponent. He looks oddly familiar. Spiky hair, glimmering teeth, sparkly armor that somehow includes a fur-lined cape and aviator goggles. He's juggling gold coins with one hand and sipping from a glowing smoothie with the other. Yo, he calls, voice smooth as charisma soup. You must be the other lucky hero. Took you long enough. He twirls a blade made of literal starlight and tosses a wink so powerful you hear 3 people faint in the stands. My name's Zeph, he announces. Hero of fortune, savior of Smoochvale, breaker of statistical probability, and according to at least one bard, very kissable. You blink. You're me, but worse. Ralia whispers, he's you if you were raised by magical influences. The goblin referee floats down in a tiny blimp and clears his throat. Combatants. Today's duel shall follow the rules of fortunate engagement. No fatal strikes, no boring tactics, and absolutely no skipping the post-duel nap. You both nod. He throws the first move, literally a deck of enchanted playing cards. They spin into the air, burst into butterflies, and nearly distract you, until one turns into a pie and smacks you in the face. Mainstream fact, in some magical dueling traditions, luck battles aren't won by strength or precision, but by who can bend probability in the most absurdly entertaining way. Victory isn't about who hits harder, it's about who the universe finds funnier that day. You retaliate by tripping over your own shoelace, which causes a tile to flip up and launch a pigeon carrying a magical scroll. The scroll explodes in glitter, blinding Zeph long enough for you to throw a donut at his face. The crowd roars. He casts a spell labeled Irresponsible Mirror, and it reflects your own sneeze back at you, which triggers a weather event. It starts raining gumdrops. You dodge by slipping on a banana peel that wasn't there 5 seconds ago, which flings you through the air directly into a cart labeled Mysterious Winning Objects. You emerge holding a rubber chicken made of crystal. It squeaks. The arena lights up. Confetti explodes. Final move, the goblin blimp bellows. 1 random chance each. Zeph tosses a die into the air. It lands on a 20. He's surrounded by a glowing aura of improbable handsomeness and floating hearts. You sigh. You reach into your cloak, pull out a cookie you didn't know you had, and take a bite. Everything pauses. The air bends. A single cherry blossom lands on your shoulder, and every petal in the arena freezes mid-air. Your eyes glow faintly. The cookie pulses. The crowd gasps. Critical snack. The goblin whispers. The rarest of moves. You burp politely. Zeph's aura flickers and deflates like a pop balloon. The crowd erupts. Again. You win. Zeph walks over, dusting sugar from his shoulder. He offers a hand. That was incredible. We're totally going to be friends/rivals now, huh? You shake his hand. As long as you stop talking in hashtags. Deal, he grins. He presses a scroll into your palm. Here, my travel token. Gets you into the Library of Lost Fortunes. You'll need it. He salutes, spins, and vanishes in a puff of confetti. You blink. Look at the scroll. 1 admission, Library of Lost Fortunes, valid until moonfade, no backseas. Ralia joins you. Well, that was both the dumbest and most impressive thing I've ever seen. Puff squeaks in agreement. You're still holding the crystal chicken. Fringe tidbit. Some magical items are classified under whimsy-class artifacts, tools of randomness that serve no purpose except to shift probability. Scholars still argue whether these objects are sentient, chaotic neutral, or just leftovers from a prank war between old gods. You tuck the scroll into your pocket and glance at the sky. It's full night now. Stars shimmer like they're chuckling quietly. The arena begins to fold itself away, petals vanishing like popcorn steam. The map glows again. Next stop, the library. You mount Huff, cloak fluttering behind you, and whisper, "Let's go see what I almost was." The stars stretch ahead of you, like bookmarks in a story you haven't read yet. The stars are quieter as you fly tonight. No shooting comets, no gossiping constellations, just a soft breeze and a sense that even the sky is holding its breath. The scroll Zeph gave you glows faintly in your pocket like a warm piece of bread someone forgot to butter. It's pulsing in sync with the map now, guiding you to a sliver of forest where the trees lean away from the center, like they're politely avoiding eye contact with something ancient. There, tucked beneath a curtain of fog and moonlight, you find it. The Library of Lost Fortunes. It doesn't have a door, just a wooden archway carved with the phrase, "Enter with wonder, exit with wisdom," hopefully. You step through and immediately forget your name, then remember it again, then forget what you were going to say. Puff squeaks nervously and Ralia mutters a protection charm under their breath. The library isn't just a building, it's a sentient construct, alive with layered time and emotional residue. Shelves stretch into directions that don't obey gravity or zoning regulations. Staircases drift lazily in midair, and the books, they whisper, constantly. You spot titles like "Lives You Nearly Lived" and "The Time You Almost Turned Into a Tree." There's even a heavy tome labeled, "What If You'd Stayed as a Frog?" You pause, maybe later. A librarian floats over, a tall, robed figure with the head of a raven and the posture of someone who's read too much fan fiction. They don't speak, but hand you a card made of cloud stuff. It reads, "Authorized reader, tier, luckbound. Shelf access, fourth dimensional variants and near past futures." "Neat," you say aloud. The raven-head librarian turns and flaps softly down an aisle that smells like stardust and dust jackets. You follow, past a stack of teacups muttering about grammar and a spinning globe that only shows places you've dreamed about. They stop at a lonely pedestal in the middle of a spiral staircase. Upon it sits a single book, black cover, no title. The librarian nods, disappears. You reach out. The moment your fingers brush the cover, the book opens by itself and begins flipping pages at hurricane speed. You catch flashes, your face, but older or younger, wearing crowns, robes, suits, pajamas. One version of you is a bard, another a hermit, another a villain. The book slows. One page remains. This page shows you. Not a version, not a what if, just you, exactly now, wearing the cloak of coincidence. Muffin crumbs on your sleeve, Puff snoozing in your pocket, and underneath is one glowing line, "The most unlikely story is still yours." Ralia peers over your shoulder. "Well," they say quietly, "that's uncomfortably emotional." You smirk. "I expected worse." The book closes softly and disintegrates into mist. Suddenly, the room changes. Bookshelves bend inward. The floor becomes reflective, like a mirror full of stars. A gentle chime rings through the air and a new doorway opens, this one glowing soft gold framed in ivy and ink. A note appears in your hand. You didn't see it arrive. It reads, "You may take one story with you. Just one." You hesitate. There's a shelf nearby filled with glowing bottles, each labeled with a brief description. The time you almost kissed the dragon. That one dream where you were brave. What your mother thought the day you left. Your best day. You haven't lived it yet. You pick the last one. The bottle glows warmly in your palm before vanishing into your pocket. It leaves behind a feeling like sunlight behind your ribs. Fringe tidbit. In rare magical libraries, chrono-reflective bottling is used to preserve potential moments. The ethics of this are highly debated. Some believe it cheats fate, others argue it simply lets you remember what you haven't become yet. No one agrees, especially not the librarians. You walk back through the golden doorway, the floor returning to stone beneath your feet. Ralia stretches beside you. So, did it help? You think for a second. I'm not sure, but I feel taller. Outside, the moon has tilted slightly like it's eavesdropping. The wind greets you like an old friend. Huff lies curled in the grass, snoring gently, surrounded by a group of mice who appear to be playing cards on his tail. You settle beside him. The cloak flutters around you like it's pleased. The map, ever punctual, glows with its next message. Midnight market. No time, no refunds, no lies. You roll your eyes. Can't we just rest for 5 minutes? The map goes dim. You chuckle. But deep inside, beneath the whimsy and chaos, you feel something tugging. Like the threads of luck around you are tightening. Like the dream is spiraling inward towards something final. Puff nuzzles your cheek. You lean back against Huff's side, close your eyes, and breathe. Whatever comes next, you'll meet it. But for now, you rest. The midnight market doesn't have a location. It has a mood. You don't find it on a map, even the kind that glows and whispers nonsense. You find it when the hour leans too heavily against the stars, and the world starts to hum in keys only the half-asleep can hear. And tonight? Oh, tonight it finds you. You wake up to the sound of bells, soft, like glass wind chimes in a dream. Puff is already floating circles above your head. Ralia stands nearby, arms folded, silhouetted against a horizon that looks too shiny to be morning. Something's wrong, they say, but it isn't wrong. Not exactly. It's off. Your surroundings have changed, not drastically, just gently shifted. The stars above you move too fast. Huff, still snoring beside you, seems frozen in a loop, breathing in and out like clockwork, but with no awareness. The grass doesn't bend under your feet, and when you speak, your voice sounds like it's coming from another room. You've been pulled in. The midnight market welcomes you. A cobblestone path appears beneath your slippers. Lanterns blink to life ahead of you, purple, silver, flame orange. They hover, float, laugh maybe. A stall appears. Then another, and another. Before you've taken 10 steps, you're standing in a twisting bazaar where the booths breathe, the shadows blink, and shoppers range from sleepwalkers to shimmering spirits made entirely of feathers and good intentions. Mainstream fact of the hour. Throughout magical folklore, midnight markets are liminal spaces, temporary trade hubs between worlds, open only during particular alignments of mood and moon. They're places where no lies can be spoken, no prices are ever fixed, and no memory remains entirely unchanged after leaving. Scholars debate whether the markets are created by dreamers or simply visited through them. The markets themselves refuse to comment. You pass stalls selling, laughter in jars, bottled thunder with sugar added, second chances, scratched but functional, socks that always know which direction is north. One vendor tries to sell you spare time. Another offers you a nap so powerful it rewrites childhood. Ralia picks up a memory cube and squints into it. Apparently, I once kissed a cactus. In this timeline. Weird. You continue walking, the cloak fluttering behind you with growing excitement. It seems to like it here. You reach the heart of the market, a clock tower that isn't ticking. Around it, a dozen tents form a perfect ring, each marked with symbols your eyes refuse to hold on to. One tent pulls at you. It smells like the exact moment between waking and dreaming. You duck inside. Inside, it's larger, because of course it is. There's only one person or being inside. They look like you, not you, but someone who could have been you. Their hair is wrong, their face is more tired, less bright-eyed, their shoulders are heavier, like they've had to carry something you haven't. Yet, I've been waiting, they say. You take a step forward. What is this? A checkpoint, they say softly. A gift. They gesture to a simple table where 3 objects rest, a folded letter, a cracked mirror, a key made of moonlight. You're told you may choose one, only one. Fringe tidbit. Some magical theories believe that when souls travel through dreams, they leave anchors, moments of self-intersection where choices echo through versions of themselves. These crossroads are said to be how fate changes course without ever knowing it's done so. You ask what they are. The letter, they say, is from someone who never got to say goodbye. The mirror will show you what you've lost by being lucky. The key opens something you'll one day need but won't remember. You stare at the items. Your hand moves before your mind does. You take the key. The moment your fingers close around it, the world folds inward. The you not you nods once, then fades like mist. The tent evaporates. The market around you begins to dim. Ralia's voice calls faintly through the dark. Puff squeaks your name from somewhere behind your ribs. You turn, and you're back. Standing beside the now empty field. The sky is normal. The air smells like dew and breakfast. Your cloak is heavier now, like the key is part of it. And in your hand, a receipt. It reads, Midnight Market, 1 key of uncertain timing, paid in possibility, no refunds. See you again, maybe. Ralia appears beside you, blinking. You were gone. Just a moment, you lie, but you weren't. Not really. Mainstream debate alert. Magic users still argue whether liminal realms like the Midnight Market actually consume time or merely bend perception. Some say a moment there is an hour here. Others insist the market is a dream your mind retroactively inserts when you need guidance. Still others claim it's just fairy capitalism. You mount Huff again, silent this time, thoughtful. The map glows gently, not pulsing, not shouting, just a quiet hum. Next, when the luck runs dry. Warning, do not rely on coincidence. Your heart hiccups. You've always had luck. It's what's kept you safe, or distracted from how safe you weren't. Now you're heading into a story where the stars may not be watching. You pull your cloak tighter. Puff leans into your neck. Ralia doesn't speak, but rides close. And the horizon, for the first time in days, feels still. You feel it the moment you wake. It's not a sound, not a smell. It's the absence of something. The cloak of coincidence hangs heavier on your shoulders. Puff is still there, curled in your hood, but its usual background squeaking is gone, like even it doesn't want to tempt fate. You check the map. It doesn't glow. You shake it. Still nothing. Even the wind seems undecided. Ralia stirs beside you, blinking against the soft light of a new dawn. Something's off, they murmur. The probability threads around you. They've gone quiet. You stand slowly, testing the weight of your limbs. Nothing strange happens. No random rainbow, no surprise muffin, not even a spontaneous parade. It's unsettling. You've never felt this normal. The cloak doesn't flutter, it sags like wet laundry, and your luck stat? You open your status window. It's dimmed out. Not 0, just grayed out, unreadable. The heading says, Luck, offline, system required. You almost laugh. Almost. Well, you mutter, time to find out who I am without it. You walk. No magical paths appear beneath your feet. No bridges form from clouds. It's all dirt, gravel, uneven footing. You trip. Skin your palm. It hurts, and for once nothing helpful explodes in your favor. Welcome to Dry Spell Ridge. There's nothing grand about the place. No massive cliffs, no howling winds, just a long, narrow valley carved into the hills, where everything feels slightly more difficult than it should be. As you descend, you notice how your surroundings dull. Colors muted, wind heavier, even your thoughts feel like they're dragging through molasses. Ralia walks beside you in silence, watching you closely. Not judging, just curious. How are you holding up? They ask. You shrug, kinda like a paper straw in hot soup. A faint smile tugs at their lips. Good, that means you're human. You laugh, but your hands shake a little. Eventually, you reach a bridge. It's simple, rope and wood, swaying gently over a ravine. There's no magic holding it together, just old knots and hope. A sign reads, only the self may cross. You glance back at Ralia. Wait here? They nod. I'll keep watch, and maybe journal about your inevitable fall. Charming. You step onto the bridge. It creaks with every movement. The air is colder here. Still no magic, no wind. Halfway across, you pause. Something stands at the far end. You squint. It's you. Another version. No cloak, no sword, just jeans, a hoodie, and tired eyes. They hold your stare, speak softly. So, they say, how much of you is actually you? You blink. Excuse me? You've had help, they say. Luck, coincidence, glitches in the universe holding your hand. Who are you without it? You clench your fists. Still me. They vanish. The bridge sways, a sudden crack. One of the ropes snaps behind you. You don't run. You move forward, carefully, steadily. Each step your own, you cross. You don't fall. No explosions, no heroic fanfare, just breath and grit and balance. On the other side, you drop to your knees, chest heaving. The path continues. No fanfare, just dirt. Mainstream fact break. Many belief systems include a crisis of power moment, a point where a chosen figure loses their advantage and must confront themselves raw. Whether it's magic, identity, or even memory, this stripping away is considered a rite of genuine transformation. Scholars still debate whether these crises are orchestrated by cosmic design or just really terrible scheduling. You keep walking. You come to a wall, not made of stone, made of silence. A shimmering barrier of soundless static that vibrates with resistance. No one tells you what to do, so you touch it. It doesn't vanish, doesn't crack. It just lets you through. And the moment you pass, the world changes. Color returns. Your cloak lifts slightly in the breeze. Puff stirs and squeaks like it just had a very odd nap. Your luck, still off. But something else is back. You walk until the trees part and the sky opens. A lake lies ahead, still and silver like the face of a coin tossed in slow motion. Ralia catches up behind you, panting. You crossed it? You nod. Somehow. They offer you a water skin. You're still glowing, not magically, just in a very sweaty, triumphant way. You take it. Look up. The stars begin to blink again. And your map? It glows. Not bright, not with sparkles, just a soft pulse like a heartbeat. A message appears. Final path, Dreamlight Vale. Status, hero thread in progress. Ralia claps your shoulder. Looks like you're ready. You glance at the horizon. I'm not, you admit. Perfect, they reply. That means you're finally real. Fringe tidbit of the night. In mythic storytelling, a hero isn't defined by power or fate, but by the moment they face the world without either. The hero's journey doesn't end when they win. It ends when they realize they didn't need to. The stars stretch before you. Puff climbs onto your shoulder. You take your first step toward Dreamlight Vale. And for the first time in this long, weird, wonderful journey, you're walking forward without a net. And that feels like magic all its own. Dreamlight Vale doesn't shimmer or shout your arrival. It waits. As you crest the hill, the wind stills. The grass hums gently beneath your feet, and the sky takes on a color that doesn't exist in normal language, somewhere between twilight lavender and the memory of a lullaby. The path is lined with stones, each etched with a symbol. Ralia walks beside you, silent, their usual smirk gone, replaced by something softer. You don't need to ask. You both know what this is. The end, or something very much like it. The map doesn't glow anymore. It's just paper now, creased and worn from all the folding, unfolding, and spontaneous snack explosions. You roll it up and tuck it away. If you've learned anything, it's that maps can show you where to go, but they don't show you how to get there. Ahead lies the Vale, and at the center, a figure. Not threatening, not radiant, just waiting. They wear robes that shift like curtains in a soft breeze, and their face is obscured by a veil of dream stuff, wisps of cloud, echo, and memory. Welcome, they say, their voice neither loud nor soft, just true. You've arrived at the final thread. You tilt your head. Final, what exactly? They gesture to the sky. Your journey has pulled on the fabric of this world. By stumbling through it, you've woven yourself into it. This veil is where those threads come together, for one last knot. You reach into your pocket instinctively. The key from the midnight market is warm again. They nod. You may open the gate when you're ready. What's behind it? Your choice. Helpful, they lead you deeper into the vale where the landscape folds in on itself gently like a field daydreaming. You pass a glade full of sleeping foxes wearing scarves, a tree that hums lullabies to the wind, and a stone with your name carved into it, followed by the words, just in case. Mainstream fact. Across cultures, the idea of the veil or veil often marks the liminal space between reality and something more, a crossing point of fate, self, or spirit. People still argue whether it's a real place, a metaphor, or a convenient literary tool for dramatic pacing. Finally, you reach it. The gate. It's not ornate, no jewels, no gold, just wood and dreamlight, bound together by silence and that particular kind of breath you take before something changes. You hold up the key, it clicks into place, and 3 doors appear. The robed figure steps back. Choose. Each door has a symbol, a glowing crown, a quiet bed, an open road. You glance at Ralia, who shrugs. You were never great with simple options. The first door pulses with power. The heroes end the kingdom, the statue, the endless feasts in your honor. You would be known, celebrated, maybe even worshipped a little. The second door is warm, cozy, the rest ending. A bedroom lit by firelight, a bed made of clouds, a window that looks into forever. Peace. You've done enough, time to sleep. And the third, it's the same path you came in on. The adventure ending. Keep going, no guarantees, no final boss, just the world and whatever comes next. Fringe tidbit, in certain rare enchanted narratives, usually dream-threaded ones, endings are offered, not imposed. Heroes choose how their stories end, and by doing so, reshape not just their future, but the fate of those who followed the tale. Many believe this power is the most dangerous kind of magic, free will. You turn back to the cloaked guide. Do people ever choose the middle one? They nod. More than you'd think. And the crown? Fewer than you'd hope. Then at Aria, then at Puff, then at your cloak, still fluttering slightly even without magic guiding it. You grin. Yeah, I'm not done yet. You reach for the third door, it swings open, not into light, not into thunder, but into a quiet morning. Hills, trees, somewhere a bell rings. You feel grass under your feet, air in your lungs, possibility pressing gently on your shoulders. The cloaked figure smiles, just barely. Then go, hero, and walk well. Aria walks beside you as the world rebuilds itself around your steps. Bet you anything, they say. The next place has frogs again. You nod. As long as they're not asking for rent. Puff squeaks once, loudly, probably in protest. And the three of you step into the next chapter. No narration, no stats, just steps. You walk, and behind you, dreamlight veil folds back into the stars, smiling quietly. The world you step into is quiet. Not the eerie, something's watching kind of quiet, but the kind you get after a long, long storm. Peaceful, hesitant, a quiet earned, not gifted. You're in a valley, not Dreamlight Vale, not any place marked on your now very retired map. This is somewhere new, somewhere unwritten. The grass is normal, the air doesn't shimmer, the sky is exactly the kind of blue you remember from your own world. Unmagical, imperfect, real. Your steps make noise now, a soft crunch on gravel. Aria walks beside you, not saying much. Puff perches on your shoulder, unusually silent, blinking slowly like someone still deciding if this whole thing is a nap or a story. The cloak of coincidence flutters half-heartedly, like it knows its job is done, or at least on break. Where are we? You ask finally. Aria shrugs. No idea, but it doesn't hate us, so that's a start. You walk for hours. Nothing explodes, no sudden boss battle, just birdsong, distant wind, the smell of grass, and maybe someone baking bread very far off. And then, without warning, you trip, of course, but not dramatically. You fall to one knee, brush dirt from your palms, and find it. A small silver coin. Plain. No inscriptions, no glow, just a simple piece of metal sitting quietly in the dirt. You pick it up, and your luck returns, but not like before. It's not fireworks and parades anymore. It's subtle, grounded. You feel it in your bones, not like a cheat code, but like an understanding, a presence. The world isn't bending around you now. It's walking with you. You pocket the coin, not for power, just to remember. Mainstream fact. Some myths speak of earned luck, the kind that comes not from gifts or divine bugs in the universe, but from choices, persistence, and surviving long enough to understand the game. It's said to be quieter, but it sticks. You camp that night beneath a weeping willow. There's no magic in the fire, but it crackles all the same. Aria hums a melody neither of you recognize. Puff snores softly in your hood. You sleep and you dream, not of battles or fate or glowing maps. You dream of breakfast and books and laughing so hard you fall out of a chair. Of a porch with a creaky swing. Of a dragon making pancakes because you told him once they're a heroic ritual. And when you wake, you're smiling. The next day, something does happen. Because of course it does. You reach a hilltop, and the moment your foot hits the crest, a storm rolls in from nowhere. Not thunder, not rain, just clouds. A swirling dome of mist. You and Aria pause. This feels final, you say. They nod. Smells like narrative closure. The wind blows. A shape forms in the mist. Tall, glowing faintly. A figure made of threads, shimmering strands of every moment you've lived here. You see yourself in it. Not a reflection, not a shadow, but a woven record. Your story pulled tight. It speaks in your voice, but older, calmer. You've walked well, it says, but there is one last step. You steady your stance. Bring it on. No, the thread figure replies, just listen. It extends a hand, something small, faint. A whisper, you lean closer. You were never meant to save the world. You were meant to soften it. You blink, then laugh. Yeah, you whisper. That sounds right. The figure dissolves, the mist clears, and the world opens. Not into glory, not into credits, just more path. A little wider now, a little warmer. Fringe tidbit of the day. Some narrative theories describe the anticlimax of Ascension, a rare moment when a hero finishes their journey, not in fire and fury, but in quiet, where power doesn't shout but breathes. Scholars still debate whether it's satisfying. The readers, they tend to sleep better after. You and Ralia descend the hill. Puff lets out a little chirp like a sentence with no grammar but full meaning. Ahead, trees, people, maybe soup. You're not the same hero who began this journey. You don't trip as much. You still do. But now it's on purpose. You help a stranger carry a heavy satchel. You trade your last pastry for a story. You fix a cartwheel using a trick you don't even remember learning. No quests, no destiny, just living. The map never turns back on. It doesn't need to, because now wherever you go, luck follows, not because you were chosen, but because you chose to stay. And the world? It notices. You don't know when the world stops calling you hero. Maybe it's the day you mend a roof for a farmer. No magic, just a hammer and a lot of swearing. Maybe it's when a child tugs on your cloak, not to ask for a prophecy, but to share half a cookie. Or maybe it's the morning you wake in a town you've never seen, greeted by people who don't know who you are, and you don't feel the need to correct them. You're just you now, not chosen, not summoned, just someone who's lived. Dreamlight Vale becomes a story people whisper about. The cloak of coincidence becomes part of your wardrobe, not because you need it, but because it's cozy and has excellent pockets. Puff remains at your side, of course, slightly chubbier, possibly immortal. And Ralia? They never leave. You travel together now, not for quests, for curiosity. Sometimes people still try to give you titles: Warden of Wonder, the Rewuven, Champion of the Unlikely. You politely decline. You're fine with Elian, or whatever name you go by now. That part never really mattered. One day you come across a hill. You know it the moment you see it. This is the place. No signs, no celestial markers, just a quiet hill under a sleepy sun with enough space to lie back and breathe. You set down your pack, lie down, close your eyes, and the world tilts a little just to give you a better view of the stars. You never expected this life, never planned for it. But now, as you drift into that gentle space between dreaming and remembering, you realize you wouldn't trade it for anything. The clouds curl back into the sky. The winds settle, no longer tugging at your sleeves. The starlight above your head pulses gently, like a heartbeat barely remembered, a song that knows it doesn't need to end loudly to be complete. You've walked far tonight, through fields that shimmered, forests that whispered, towns that crowned you by accident. You've met dragons, kissed fate, insulted frogs, and reshaped your luck, not with spells but with choices. And now there's nothing left you have to do. There's only breath, and stillness, and warmth. Let your shoulders sink. Let your fingers loosen. Let your mind soften around the edges. The way pages curl after being loved. The coin in your pocket is cool and quiet. The dreams still wait, of course, but they know how to tiptoe. And the world you've walked through, wild and absurd and beautiful, it stays just close enough to reach again, if you ever want to. You don't have to remember all the details, just the feeling, that cozy, strange truth that even when luck fades, you're still you. And you're more than enough. So now, close your eyes. You've done well. Let it all drift. Sleep comes easy now. Sweet dreams.